Okay, let's have a look at opening up Unity's URP or Universal Render Pipeline template to set up a fresh project. So if we just click on the new here, we'll see the option box. It's opened on my other screen. Drag that over. So we have these options of the 2D, 3D, height, HDRP, and the Universal Render Pipeline. But if you notice here, this is actually Unity the 2020.1.4, which we're not wanting to use for this project. So if you click on the drop down and open up in the correct version, the same options come up. But this time we want to not select the 3D, we want to select the Universal Render Pipeline. That's what URP stands for. Give your project a suitable name. URP TUT is fine for this one. And make sure you have your project save location. Create that, and that'll take a couple of minutes to open. On my other window, of course. I'll drag that over. Okay, there we go. That's the pop-up. This will take a few minutes to initialize and get all the project template settings all compiled. I'll skip ahead with the magic of editing. So even on my system, which is a pretty beefy system, it took a good 2 minutes for it to pre-compile all those assets and settings. And then it starts loading up the scripts. This bit usually goes quite fast, even though it has a countdown there of a minute and a half or a minute 40 seconds. This seems to just jump like it did there. And we're finally getting there. Okay, there we go. Drag that over. Okay, I'll just position this. Right. So if you look on your right-hand side, I don't know if you might have to just skip back, but when it first loaded, everything just flashed up like a bright cyan color, a bright blue color. That was actually the assets loading in the shaders for the Universal Render Pipeline. Okay, so here on the right hand side, it's a brief description of what the Universal Render Pipeline template is, and there's further links to documentation if you want to have explanation. So going from what we said in our lecture, you'll see that the layout is similar to the way that I showed you on the second slide about it. In here are all your assets that are in the scene. And this is a basic scene, and it's quite a nice scene, but it is a basic scene. These are your movement controls for your local movements there of each object, your X, Y, and Z. If you look in the top corner, you'll see the world rotation controls rotating as I move around. Here I'm using the mouse and the Alt key to actually rotate around and move about. But there on the right hand side is in the inspector's window is what we went over in the lecture, showing you about your transforms and your assets details, and you can click on the drop downs to see your shaders, and if I click on that shader there, it actually opens the folder view of where that shader is, which is quite handy. Clicking on that is a reflection probe, as you can see there. We'll cover those in more detail later on in the course, so not to worry too much, but that's what those things are. This is your camera, and down in the bottom corner there, it actually shows you your camera view if you click on it. This little icon is the post-processing. So clicking on that doesn't do anything, but you can go over to your hierarchy window and select the post-processing volume there, and there you go. You've got some options there of what post-processing is applied to it. That just makes the scene look nice. Back here is a light. So the light is actually coming from this asset or from this mesh. There's an actual light if you look in your hierarchy, so there we've got the legs, and then we've got the bulb, and then the light head, and they're all meshes, but the actual light beam is being sent from this spotlight here. So if I click E on my keyboard, and that changes the gizmo to the rotation, and I can rotate in the different directions. Then again, just rotate around the scene here. You can zoom in and out as well with your mouse. So clicking on my R button will give me the size, the scale gizmo, and I can scale up in all directions by using the center button, or scale up in different directions by dragging these around. As you see, scaling that way has stretched that texture so it doesn't look quite right. Obviously, you know, these textures were built for it to be as a smaller thing, and you know, if you are using other people's assets, which I would hope you are, just be careful of making adjustments. Up here we have our scene tab, and here is the games tab. So if you actually had anything to run in the game, that's the tab you click, and you click the play button, and you'd actually be able to play through the game. With this scene, it's just a basic using your WASD keys to move about the scene. To get out, you click it. There's a quick hint here for anybody who doesn't know. It's hard if you change things in the actual scene while you're running it as a game, it doesn't change. So a quick tip to know that you actually are running, because I've done it plenty of times, is if you go up to edit and then go down to your preferences, and I'm already in there, so I'll just resize this so it's bit easier to read. So when you open, you usually are in the general tab. So if you click down, go on to colors, and then search for this one that says play mode tint, and change it to something that is you can't ignore, and save that. So I've done this really bright pink. Close that down, and close that, and then if we click the play button, you'll see, so we're in the game, play button, it changes all this round to be this bright pink or whatever color you choose, and there's no way of making adjustments to something and it not taking. So if I run this and say I select okay, the workbench, so if I move too far, if I move that workbench stuff there, and it's because it's bright pink, we can see it's running in the game. But if I stop the game now, all of that is going to jump back. Now, if you do that while you're actually trying to build your game by mistake, you don't notice it's in the play mode, then that gives you problems. Another thing I'll just show here is my dark theme. I like the dark theme. So if you go into the same preferences and then into general, and then you have the theme editor, and you can change that from light to dark. So when you first open up Unity, it might look like this, but they give a free update to change it to the dark theme last year, so I prefer that. And that's about all for the basic scene, I think. Just a quick note on creating scenes. So obviously this is your project folders structure here. And if we go into the top level of your assets, you can see there's a scenes folder. So the scene that loaded up here is the sample scene. If you wanted to create your own new scene or a blank scene to start building in, just click new scene. We don't need to save that. And that's your scene, but remember, save the scene and give it a unique name, something that you'll easily recognize. Okay, so it's not saved it in the scenes folder. It would default to save it in the top level folder, which is the assets. You can just drag and drop that into the scenes folder, and then that's in there. Or a quick way is just go in, right click, create, go up to scene, and it creates a new scene. Create my scene 2. We're still in scene 1, remember, it hasn't actually changed it to a new scene, so double click on my scene 2. and we're back, and then we can swap between the scenes. I should have put something in there to show you that. That's it. That's all for this time. Any newbies, I hope it helped. Thank you.